Hello mechatronics students, this is Andrew Dowlin, and in this video we're going to be talking about our PLCs, creating a very first program and setting up all the hardware in the Studio5000 software. So this same PLC programming software can be used on a whole wide variety of PLCs that Allen Bradley sells. So it's important that our module and our part numbers match in the software. So it's actually one of the first things we have to do, setting this up. When you look at our PLC, the particular model number could be found on a sticker over here that's pretty well buried. But this one happens to have some of the part number listed up here, and I can tell you that it's a compactlogix 5370 series, and the part number is 1769-L18ERM, and those numbers are listed right up here. And then a couple other dash B1BB. And then it's got a couple of expansion modules that were added to the PLC, and it's important that we set those up when we create a new program. So let's jump into the software here. I'm going to hit the Windows key and start typing STU. There's the Studio5000 app, and we're going to create a new project in Studio5000. Now, I strongly recommend that you guys create a folder that is on some sort of cloud storage device. In here, I have a OneDrive, my personal OneDrive, but students all have a OneDrive account that's cloud-based storage, so you shouldn't have to worry about saving things or losing things. It's not just stored on a flash drive or a computer somewhere. So that's good. I'm going to call this my initials and PLC hardware. That should be all good. Going to hit the next icon here, and this is asking me how many expansion I/O modules do you have. And over here we note that there are two analog input expansion modules on this trainer. If yours happens to be different, just make sure that it's whatever you have physically connected to the PLC. So I'm going to state that, yep, we've got two of those expansion modules, and then click Finish. So this is launching, and this program will be specific for that. It's going to import a number of things such as the input and output, local I/O. Those will be controller tags that are listed in here. We'll get to that later. So this is good. We've got it launched, but one of the things that we have under expansion I/O modules, this folder isn't actually fleshed out. So we're going to right click on this area and tell it that we've got a new module. And this brings up a catalog of all the different I/O modules that are available. And we're going to choose the 1734. Looks like the IE2V module is first. So back to the software, 1734 IE2V is what I'm looking for. It's a 2-channel analog input voltage. That looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Create on here. It's going to ask me which slot this is in, and by default, since it was the next one, it's going to be in slot number 2. And I think that shows up in our schematics as well. And I'm just going to hit OK. And while I'm in here, I can just add the next module as well. So notice that this IE2V module was added over here in the list of I/O expansion modules. And now our next one is an IE2C, a 2-channel analog current input module. Hit Create on that. It's going to put it in slot 3 because that's the only one that's available next. And OK. It shows up over here, and we can close this. So with that, we've set up the hardware, got the right part numbers based on what our controller is, and we're all set to start programming. So that's how to create a new program and get the right modules set up. And then while we're at it, we can go and check our communications and actually I think it's going to give us an error here. Let me cancel something. Right here is the main routine, and this main routine is blank, and there's an error of sorts in here, this red X, and I don't think it's going to allow us to download anything while that error exists. So we're going to create a real simple program, pop it in, and then we'll be able to download the program, and I can demonstrate some of these things. So I'm going to grab an examine on bit up here, and it pops it into this rung 0. And I'm also going to grab an output energize bit, click on that, and it pops it over here on that first rung. Now this line is still showing up as red, so it's no good. I'm going to click on the question mark and start typing here. This is going to be an input, and we'll very shortly have a video on inputs, but our very first input happens to be a green push button located on input 0. So I'm going to go to local 1, so that's slot 1, and then inputs, so these are embedded inputs. And if I go to the local 1 data dot 0, I can have this little pull down menu and select this 0. So that's basically going to be input 0, which happens to be connected to a green push button. And then I'm going to do a similar thing over here. Double click on this and go to the local outputs this time. Local slot 1 O for output, and I should be able to find its data as well. Expand it, and I'll choose output 0 as well. So now that that's successful, this line is no longer red. We have a legitimate program, albeit very simple, and we can go ahead and download this to the PLC. So up here under communications, we can select who active and choose from the Ethernet, and there's our PLC right here. We want to go from the computer to the PLC, so we select the PLC and hit go online, or we can hit the download button from here, either one. If I hit go online, I think it's going to ask me by default if I want to download it, and I'm like, yeah, let's download the file that we've created. I'm going to go ahead and hit download. It's giving me a couple of flags, things I need to be aware of that could happen, so we can just hit download, and it's compiling, downloading from the PC to the PLC, and done downloading. Change controller back to remote run. Sure, let's do that. Now you can see up here some of my icons have changed, and they're green, indicating that the inputs outputs okay, we're in run mode, the controller's okay, happens to be in remote run mode right now. And because I wrote that simple program, if I go over here and press the green push button, I also get the green LED to pop up. So that's output 0, this is input 0, and it's a little hard to see in here, it's at the bottom of that screen, but we can also perhaps see it in the status indicators up here. When input 0 is pressed, output 0 turns on the little status indicators for the inputs outputs on the PLC module. So there you have it. We have successfully created a new project. We have told it exactly which part numbers and models we have for our PLC and the expansion input-output modules, and we wrote a very simple PLC program that an input turns on and output. Lots more to come in PLCs, but we've got a good starting point. We'll catch you guys later.